Excellent.
Okay.
So, Megan, just to recap, I hit the record button late, that we've called to order and done the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we're starting new business now.
Okay, so for additions and deletions to the agenda, I am adding at the end of the administrative matters, I'm going to be adding a motion to approve approve as contract with the Formula Ford and Viking for the F600 and dump body. We have reviewed all the, well, I'll talk about that when we bring it up. And the other thing I want to add to the agenda is just giving a little background on Sarah and our conversation. And Sarah Buxton, excuse me.
Welcome.
Sarah.
Welcome, Sarah.
Yeah, so I'm going to start with that, but is there anyone else that has any additions to the, oh, somebody here? Yeah. Oh, profit open? Sure.
Sure.
Thank you. So I would like to just begin with giving a little recap of, my conversation with Sarah when we interviewed, and that was a recorded interview by me, and then I sent the recording to Seth, since because of the rules, we couldn't do it together. Sarah brings a really different experience to the select board, and some of you know, because you already served with Sarah on the planning commission. I always get those mixed up. But one of the things that Sarah brings to the committee is she is an attorney, which again, I think all of you that are here know, but for people seeing this on recording. And in her work as an attorney, Sarah works with small towns around Vermont on municipal issues. So she has a lot of experience that will be very helpful for us. And the other thing is Sarah has some real goals and objectives. And at the end of this session, we're going to talk about our goals and objectives, and I'm going to speak to that more at that time. So the first thing, I'm going to make a motion of signing of the orders with our payroll and our orders, $2,867.09. And then this one was a shocker, but I will make an explanation. The orders are $1,282,169.04, and that is because we made our payment to Barstow, which was we pay twice a year, so that's why our orders are over $1 million, which kind of choked me a little bit when I saw that. So I'd like to move that we approve those.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and then I'm going to make a motion to spend $2,567.09 out of the equipment replacement schedule to rebuild the York Rake.
I'll second that.
Oh,
Yeah, and then just some discussion. I just wanted to correct that typo. It is 2867, which is the amount of the orders that you just approved, but that's an expense out of the reserve fund. So we do like to have a separate motion to specify that it's coming out of the equipment replacement schedule to rebuild the York Rake. So that is the same amount as up above, 2867.09.
So, but we still need a motion for that?
Yeah, because you're specifying that we're spending that out of the equipment replacement schedule. Yeah.
So I made that motion.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
And then another motion to approve the general fund orders for $1,282,169.04.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Next, I'd like to move that we approve the minutes from last week's meeting, where Seth and I were the only two in attendance. So I would like to move that we approve those.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
I'll abstain.
And Sarah will abstain. Okay, and all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Announcements? I have none. Does anybody have any announcements? We had our meeting last week with lots of announcements. We have public comment tonight. Anybody here for public comment? Is there anybody on? I don't see anybody on the meeting. Do you, Sarah?
No, I do not.
Okay. So no public comment. So I'm going to discuss the budget a little bit here. We have some, I think, excellent. Oh,
She won't.
I'm sorry.
Our audit.
Yes.
And that
Formula.
added motion
Oh.
of the formula for.
thank you. Okay, never mind. We're going to go back. I'd like to make a motion. Our audit was completed. I have reviewed it. It was excellent, as we, of course, always expect, but it was thorough. We got a great report. It is available for anyone who'd like to review it, but I'd like to move that we accept this completed audit.
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and then Chris, our road commissioner, has asked us to approve contracting with Formula Ford and Viking for the F600 and dump body. As I said previously, we saw all the different options, and this was the one that we all agreed was the best option.
Mhm.
So I'd like to move that we approve for him to go ahead and contract that.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thanks for catching me, for getting my, all right. So the budget, the only thing we're waiting for is the public safety piece of the budget, but we have put in what what it was last year. And that, is our fire and safety, our fire and our sheriffs being here at the meetings. And also patrolling the rest of the time. So those, we're still waiting to hear back on that, but we don't expect there to be a huge increase. So right now, we are looking at only about a 1.1% increase in our municipal budget. Something interesting is our health insurance. Health went up. What we were offered went up 12%, yet because of the way our employees signed up and some took the buyout, which is 50% of what we would pay, our health insurance is actually decreased by $45,000, which is really great. It will be very nice to present that at town meeting because that's such a stressor on these other budgets. But everything else is, I think we've double checked, and I think we're in good shape. We've added in things like cybersecurity, which we haven't had in the budget in the past, but we feel like we need it. We put $22,000 in for that. We have had some increase in the vehicle maintenance because those costs are just going up quickly. But other than that, we've been able to.
The forest fire equipment.
Oh, yeah, and then we're putting, as we talked about in last week's meeting, is getting equipment for the fire marshal?
Warden.
Fire warden. We're getting some equipment for him up to the tune of about $500. So I was thrilled we were thrilled to see these numbers. And again, I think, Sarah, thank you so much for all your work on that. And
Absolutely.
we look forward to presenting such a good product at town meeting. It's going to be great.
Megan, just one other thing. We may see a change in Rutland County tax. They haven't set the tax rate, or we haven't received it yet. So we'll see a change in the Rutland County tax as reflective by the adoption of their budget.
Okay. And did we, just out of my curiosity, did we go ahead and do a 3% increase for the library as the city did?
Yes, that was folded in the budget as a anticipation, but I will double check those numbers just to make sure.
Yeah, that was the only other thing that came in, that the Randall Smathers was asking for a increase. So does anybody have any questions on the budget?
I I have a question.
Yep.
With the appropriations, Sarah, are those the ones that are just the stamp, this is ARC, Marble Valley Regional Transit, retired and senior volunteers, Rutland Area Visiting Nurses, Rutland Mental Health, Southwest Council on Aging, Wonder Feet? Are those the typical ones? Are we expecting any others? Like, I always think parent-child centers usually are on them.
DNA.
So we're not aware of other petitions being circulated, but certainly there could be others out there that are requesting. There's a handful of organizations, maybe 4 or 5, that have requested funds in the past that may resurface. That Parent-Child Center is one of those. So, we could range anywhere between $10,000 and $15,000 in appropriation requests.
Oh, and you know what? I'm just remembering about the Historical Society.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and so I just looked up at Jennifer and went, so we have to discuss that. So the Historical Society is looking to put up a bronze plaque out by, did you guys get that email?
No,
Okay.
I didn't know.
Out by our new bench, and it is to honor the veterans from Mendon, and the cost of it is $10,000, and you're looking for $5,000, or it's
The best estimate we can come up with is that you can get a plaque, a bronze plaque that we would design, the traditional cast bronze plaque, 4 holes in the corner. We would bolt it to one of those big boulders out there, so it would kind of fill in the space where the bench and the kiosk is. And the Historical Society intends to plant some greenery, with your permission, behind that area this spring to kind of make a nice backdrop for all that, all those features. And you can get a plaque. This is preliminary. This is 30 by 20, which we thought was kind of appropriate to the size of the boulder and appropriate to who we're honoring, all the Mendon veterans going back to the Revolution, et cetera. So 20 by 30 for just under $5,000. So the Historical Society was proposing to split the ultimate cost, and would also then seek private donations to equally reduce both parties' costs.
so you're looking for $2,500. Okay.
And the plan, and the hope was, since it would be, since we hope to plant the trees and the greenery this spring, which would deplete the Historical Society's budget by about a third. And then if the town voted this in May of 25, then we would design it and work on the installation and do a dedication and installation ceremony on July 4th, 26, which is the 250th anniversary of the Declaration.
Yeah.
So we would do it, yet to be designed.
Right.
It won't have individual names,
Right.
because you can't get them all right, and there might be 400 names, but it would be honoring all Mendon residents who served and who may in the future serve. Some appropriately sized plaque bolted to the rock, and then have a 4th of July dedication on because the state is doing a state-wide commission on how to do the 250th of the Declaration. And so there's no money that comes with that, but that would be our contribution to the statewide celebration.
So Sarah, is that a motion I should make now to add that to the budget, the $2,500 ask for the Historical Society?
It doesn't need to be a motion. It's just you all agree that we're going to add the $2,500 into the Mendon Historical Society line item and keep that highlighted as a point to talk about at town meeting, because it would be increasing from $500 to $3,000. So we just would want to be able to present what that increase is earmarked for.
Okay.
And if the final plaque comes in at $39.50, then each party's proportion
Will be less.
is reduced.
Great.
I think Shelley Susina, who's the president, was sending information or a report to Sarah for the town report, but has some of that information in it. And I think the Historical Society will have a meeting at some point this winter before town meeting to clarify.
Okay.
But you can get them cast in New Hampshire for under $5,000 with whatever design you want.
Okay. Well, I just I saw that in their email form or something, and I remembered it. Okay. So where am I? Oh, 2025 town meeting. I did not get up to the building, but I will try to get there next week before it's closed for the holidays to see if that's even a possibility. Otherwise, we'll be back down at the state garage, state agency transportation offices. And we have, it's been interesting since I've been on the select board. I'm looking now at our goals and objectives. And, we've been sort of in flux pretty much since I joined the select board. And now I feel like we're a solid team and we all bring different strengths and different interests. And so we have goals and objectives that we have as that Sarah keeps. And as things are completed and things are reprioritized. But one of the things that I think is really great is Sarah Buxton brings to the table. Her interest is helping us redo our employee handbook, which is desperately needed, reviewing, and I'd like to redo our employee evaluation form and our interviewing questions. So that's the sort of human resource thing is Sarah. And then Seth has such interest in the roads, and of course that's the biggest part of our budget, the roads and all that goes with that. And then I've really been working on getting out and recruiting new people to fill the holes that we have in our commissions and in our volunteer positions in the town. And I've found through some people, Greg has, when Greg's out doing zoning, meeting up with people on zoning, he's referred some people to me that have expressed interest in the town. And I have a few friends in town that have recently retired that I know are kind of looking for things to do. So that's something I'm going to really focus on, of getting all of our volunteers. And some of the, Sarah, we did get a health commissioner, but there's still a couple jobs that Sarah does that really are positions that could be held by volunteers. So that's sort of my drive, is to get all those before town meeting, to get those all beefed up. So I'm thinking between the three of us that we're going to really start making some forward progress, which would make me very happy.
Me as well.
So there's 3 policies that I don't think are super urgent, but I think that it would be useful just as a good practice to add them to the list. One would be a fee schedule, for us to adopt a fee schedule so that when there are things like public records requests, we can set a fee for how much time a person, like $1 a minute is like the standard for staff if they're preparing public records requests. Otherwise, you default to a rate that the Secretary of State set back in 2003 at like 15 cents a minute. And so in terms of like the town staff time, we can charge requesters, but we'd have to adopt a fee schedule. So that'd be one.
Yeah.
The others, I think we have, do we have video surveillance here now?
We have out front, and we're looking for, Jesse's getting bids for cameras in the office itself.
So then maybe this is more of a back burner thing, but as we get more records that actually are video records,
yes,
adopting a policy of destruction so that when we can work with the Secretary of State's office, there's a recommendation, but then if we destroy the record, subject and limit who can see it. So if we have a policy that says in the event of a public safety incident, public safety can see it versus, people who just want to, check in and see who's coming in and surveying their neighbors. That might be something we'd want to think about.
And one of the things that I had asked Jesse to do, because they, go away, is if there's any incident that's happened, if she put it on, she back it up on a thumb drive.
Yep.
So we have those.
Yeah, so we could include that and say that that's, that becomes the record, and then after a certain period of time, it goes away.
Okay. That's a great idea.
What was the other one? Video surveillance, recording. Maybe that was the same thing. Records. A record retention policy. So this may not. It could be a policy, but I think some towns now that there is such a focus on both like open meeting law and public records, a lot of towns are trying to figure out how to limit the amount of records that they have. And you can abide by a schedule of destruction, and all public agencies at the state level have to abide by that. And what it would do is it would say, if you've kept, old town reports you have to keep indefinitely, but if there are things that are just like draft budgets, you're not supposed to destroy public records, but after a period of time, the Secretary of State's office says, if you have a policy in place, you can erase emails, or you can erase text messages, or you can erase these things because they're transitory, and then they become non-records. So that if there ever was a need, but things that are of importance to public business obviously have to be retained. But once you adopt that kind of a policy, staff can feel fine being like, all right, I got to clean out my delete folder, delete, and know that those sort of back and forth, like, what time are you coming in on Thursday, that you can,
Right.
delete those.
So they aren't filed into.
Yeah, but I wouldn't put this just in terms of goals and objectives. I wouldn't say that this is a number one thing to do.
Right.
This is something like down the road when Sarah or Jesse feel like there's bandwidth. I see a lot of really good ones here that probably take precedence over that.
Great. No, we'll add those to the list. And, yeah, I think we got the cameras, and then we're like, we don't have a policy, and
Yeah.
we don't have, and we have had some records requests
Yeah.
for that video footage. So, thank you, Sarah.
Yeah.
So there are some open meeting policies that we have to have in January. So, we'll be looking at those. VLCT, the last time I checked a few weeks ago, had not yet published a model policy. So that's what's holding us up, is we would like to follow VLCT's model policy. So that will be coming to you in draft form as soon as we can get that from VLCT, and that'll be adopted probably at the first meeting in January.
Great. Okay, well,
Did we go through that?
Hmm?
Did we go through that?
Yeah, nobody had any public comment.
Nobody jumped on it, all right.
Okay, so I am going to move that at 5:53, we adjourn the select board meeting.
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
So this concludes the meeting.